The consequences of greediness. Collar grew up in the opulence of his family's wealth, surrounded by luxury and comfort. His parents, successful entrepreneurs, had built an empire that seemed unshakable. However, despite the privilege that came with his upbringing, Collar felt a deep-seated restlessness within him. He watched his father, a shrewd businessman, make deals and negotiate with a confidence that demanded respect. He admired the way his father commanded a room, the way his mere presence seemed to influence people's decisions. Kola wanted that for himself. He wanted to be more than just the heir to a fortune. He wanted to leave his mark on the world. As he grew older, Kola's desire for power and influence only intensified. He began to resent the expectations placed upon him by his family. They wanted him to focus on his studies, to prepare himself to one day take over the family's business. But Kola saw a different path for himself, one that would lead him to a different kind of success. It was during this time of internal conflict that Kola met a group of young men who belonged to a notorious gang in the city. They were everything he aspired to be: powerful, respected, and feared. They promised him a life of luxury and influence beyond his wildest dreams if he joined them. Weighed by the possibilities they presented, Kola began to spend more and more time with the gang, learning their ways and earning their trust. As he became more involved with the gang, Kola started to drift further away from his family and their business. His parents noticed the change in him, the distance that had grown between them. They tried to intervene to remind him of the values they had instilled in him since childhood. But Kola was blinded by his ambition, unable to see the consequences of his actions. Little did Kola know, his decision to join the gang would set a chain of events that would change his life forever. Kola's involvement with the gang deepened, leading him into a world he had never imagined. He was introduced to the inner workings of the operations, from petty crimes to more serious offenses. Despite his initial hesitation, Kola found himself drawn to the thrill of the activities. He had a blind rush of breaking the law. As time went on, Kola began to distance himself from his family and their business. Much to his parents' dismay, they tried to warn him of the dangers he was getting himself into. But Kola was too blinded by his desire for power and influence. He started to see the gang as his new family, the members as his brothers in arms. The gang, impressed by Kola's dedication and resourcefulness, began to trust him with more important tasks. He proved himself to be a valuable asset, earning the respect of his peers. However, as Kola became more deeply involved with the gang, he started to realize the extent of their illegal activities. He saw the pain and suffering they caused to innocent people, and a sense of guilt began to gnaw at him. Despite his growing unease, Kola continued to immerse himself in the gang's world, unable to resist the allure of power and respect they offered. But little did he know, the consequences of his actions were about to catch up with him, leading to a reckoning he never saw coming. As Kola became more entangled in the gang's activities, the true nature of the operations began to reveal itself. Witnessed acts of violence and cruelty that shook him to his core. Despite his growing discomfort, Kola felt trapped, unable to extricate himself from the dangerous path he had chosen. One fateful night, the gang's rival group launched a surprise attack. Chaos erupted as the two-sided clashed violently. Caught in the crossline, Kola fought for survival, his loyalty to the gang tested to its limit. In the heat of the battle, he saw his so-called brothers in arms for who they truly were, ruthless criminals willing to do anything to protect their interests. Injured and terrified, Kola managed to escape the confrontation, but the experience left him shaken and disillusioned. He realized that the life he had chosen was built on a foundation of lies and deceit. The guilt and shame weighed heavily on him as he struggled to come to terms with the consequences of his actions. Little did he know, the worst was yet to come. After narrowly escaping the violent confrontation with the rival gang, Kola found himself alone and wounded, both physically and emotionally. He realized that he had been living a life blinded by his greed for power and influence. With nowhere else to turn, Kola sought refuge with an old friend hoping to find solace and guidance. However, his past soon caught up with him. Gang, furious at his perceived betrayal, launched a manhunt to track him down. Kola was forced to go into hiding, constantly looking over his shoulder, knowing that at any moment the gang could find him and exact their revenge. As days turned into weeks, Kola's fear and paranoia grew. He knew that he was living on borrowed time, that his actions had consequences he could no longer escape. He began to question everything he had done, wondering if it was all worth it. But deep down, he knew the answer. One night, as Kola lay awake, consumed by guilt and regret, he heard a knock on the door. His heart pounding, he opened it to find a member of the gang standing before him. A sinister smile on his face. The time for reckoning had come. Facing his former gang member, Kola braced himself for the worst, but instead of violence, the man offered him a deal. The gang needed someone with Kola's knowledge and connections to help them expand their operations. In return, they would protect him from any further harm and ensure his safety. Torn between fear and faint glimmer of hope, Kola reluctantly agreed. He began working for the gang again, but this time with a heavy heart. The guilt of the past actions weighed on him, and he knew that he could never truly escape the consequences of his greed. As time passed, Kola tried to make amends for his past mistakes. He reached out to his family, hoping to reconcile with them and seek their forgiveness. To his surprise, they welcomed him back with open arms, relieved to have him home safe. In the end, Kola learned a valuable lesson about the true curse of greed. He realized that wealth and power were fleeting, but family and integrity were priceless. Despite the darkness of his past, Kola emerged from the ordeal with a newfound sense of humility and gratitude, determined to live a life guided by principles rather than selfish ambition.